Are you listening? Damn.
Welcome to another edition of the AFC North Talk here with Tony Ace, and Q is coming. It's on his way, so don't worry about it, Browns fans. I know you guys get antsy when one of us is not here, which we appreciate it, by the way. We do appreciate all the love. Before we get started, let me say a couple of things here. Because I don't know how y'all, I keep getting messages. Oh, why you guys are not updating the graphs?
Baker's not the intros and everything. Yeah.
Guys, first of all, let's wait for the roster to finish. One. Second, I need a damn Kenny Pickett full body before I can just do a new graph, and then but all these will get updated. We promise. We all get it. Browns fans, I get it. Baker's not your guy anymore. Steelers fans, I get it. Big Ben is not the quarterback anymore. All be done in the near future. Second.
But shout out to Ace for the new thumbnail though. It does look
yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ace. It looks clean. I love it. We're gonna try to keep the format. Appreciate it. And then second, we have super thanks now. So we have a lot of you to watch the replay, right? And we appreciate everybody. We love the comments. I read the comments. If you want to basically like super chat it off and then the replay, there's super thanks. You can go ahead, put your super thanks there. If you just want to say thank you, we appreciate it. If you have a question, put us a super thanks. We'll go ahead, we'll address it. If we think there's a question that merits, put it in here in the show the next week or the next, depending if you're during the season, we'll do that. But at least if not, we're going to go back and we'll answer your super thanks. So appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that wants to donate or wants to just say thank you. We appreciate, we take it seriously because, y'all, I know everybody works hard for their money. So the fact that you're willing to just donate to us, we appreciate that and we take care of that. Okay. With that being said, we're going to finish our draft ranking. And yes, this week, schedule is going to be out. So you know what? Next week, we're going to talk all about schedules. And you know what is coming out there, right? Because I know y'all are waiting for this, position rankings. I know everybody's waiting for the damn position rankings. I also hear on Twitter, we'll see when you rank Joe Burrow this year. We're going to see where you're running back.
Listen, we're all scarred. Listen, we're all basically going to have to rank him 1 because of what happened last year. We got to put him like 1A because of what happened last year.
It's going to be a good one, though, because I've been in some spaces, and thank you, Tristan, for the $1.99 super chat. He says, Ace, I think I lost my brain cells from that spaces. There's been a lot of AFC North spaces going on. And I think we're going to have to officially do one. I'll get with these guys, and we're definitely going to have to plan one because it's a fun thing to hear a lot of people talk about. But the one thing that comes up that I think when we do the quarterback show isn't about really like Joe Burrow. It's going to be, to me, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow, how those guys fall because, it's been a while since we've seen Watson, but the last time Watson played, he was really good. So there's been a debate, I think, at that number 2, kind of 3 spot. So I think that's going to be like the biggest one when it comes to that. But yeah, there was some crazy stuff going on in spaces today. Tony, you will probably lose your mind and I did not agree with this either. I heard an AFC North person rank Rashad Bateman over Deontay Johnson when they were talking about AFC North wide receivers. They ranked Rashad Bateman.
See, I was excited.
Deontay Johnson.
Ace, when you invited us, I was excited, but now my excitement is waning.
It's fading a little bit, just a little bit. Hey, they rank. I went to one that they said best Steeler receiver, Maple Trump. No question about it. Here's our number 1.
Best or most talented? Because he has the talent, but he's not good.
Well, I mean, like, with all the issues you got with Mapletron, but you won't got none of them issues with Deontay dropping the ball, son, all the time.
Of course, no, of course.
Like, you got issues with Chase Claypool catching it and falling down, but you don't got an issue with the dude who just don't catch it ever.
No. His drop numbers last year were obviously far improved year over year. However,
okay, but what happened at the end of the year? Well,
you cut me off because I literally just said however.
Okay, he had like 6 of them in a game or something like that. I'm just saying, like, you gonna have to deal with something with them stealing wide receivers one way or another. Either it's George Pickens headbutting somebody's pickup truck, or it's Chase Claypool doing the Chase Claypool stuff, right? That's what makes Chase Claypool annoying. You know he's too good to get rid of, but he does all that damn Chase Claypool stuff that you just don't like and can't get down with and can't respect. And then Deontay Johnson, who you can respect, likable dude, just don't catch the ball that much, man. Just drops the ball too much. Just a little too much for you to like. You know what I mean?
Okay,
he's no Willie Snead.
No, he's
no Willie Snead.
Okay, so we're gonna go with the super shots here, and then we're gonna go to the Steelers draft class. What rookie has the highest potential to start? Rookie with the highest upside. What is your favorite vegetable? What matchup are you excited for? For the Ravens, and then Linderbaum starts day 1. The Ravens, for example, had notoriously not started like secondary guys from like day 1. Like Marlon Humphrey was basically slowly put into the starting lineup. So I don't know how they're gonna do it Hamilton, but for sure, I think Linderbaum. And then because after that, the Jones, he's a DL. He's just gonna be part of a rotation, right? So for the Ravens, I would say Linderbaum, day 1, and after that, maybe Hamilton, rotation for the rest. How about y'all?
For me, for the Steelers, I would say Pickens is, obviously Kenny Pickett probably needs to start, and we'll talk about that later. But, look, it's just a numbers game at the wide receiver position for the Steelers. They went into the draft knowing that they were likely going to take a guy that was going to start day 1. So for me, it's probably got to be Pickens. And I guess Calvin Austin's in there too, because when you talk about 11 personnel, like I guess there is a situation where you could put Austin in the slot and then have Claypool and Deontay on the outside. So I think both guys are going to quote unquote start in those, in those situations.
Okay. Ace.
For me, I think it's tough here because you want to say Dax Hill, but obviously him playing in a nickel role, I don't know if someone would really consider that a starter per se. So I'm going to go with Cam Taylor-Britt here because I think that there's a real chance that he could beat Eli Apple out on the outside to actually start majority of the season. So I actually go with him there. Rookie with the highest upside. It's tough to say because the Bengals really did something this year where they went after guys with a lot of similar athletic traits and stuff like that. So it's hard to say who has the most upside, but I probably will still go with Dax Hill here because he can play, I think, 2 positions and be used all over the place from his skill set. So I think he probably has the highest upside because you could put him at nickel, you could put him on the outside, you could put him at safety, which that's been a huge debate. Bengals fans want to say he cannot play outside. The director of scouting, Mike Potts, said that, yes, he does have potential to play outside just with his measurables. Not that that's where he would play full time, but I think as far as that for vegetable, I would have to go with guess I'll go with spinach. Let's go with spinach.
I like that. I like
that too. By the way, for the Ravens, I think upside likely. I like him a lot. Okay, Q.
David Bell. For
Bell?
the Browns? Yeah, David Bell would probably be it.
Okay, we have here, shout out to Ace for enduring some terrible T. Higgins slander in Twitter spaces. Dog check.
Yes, it was insane. We had Browns fans teaming up with Bengals fans to combat that. I think it was a gentleman. I don't want to say his name because I don't want him to get stalked on Twitter, but I believe he said that T. Higgins was ranked after 22 in the NFL or something like that.
Where did people get these rankings from?
Was it based on that?
Was it Madden? Where do they get these rankings?
I mean,
like
listen.
honestly, like how do you rank a wide? Like, are we ranking them in receiving yards? Like that could be flawed. Like what are we PFF grades? Like you gotta source your rankings. People just be out here like Browns had the 5th ranked defense last year. Which ranking though? Like you gotta tell me how you're ranking this, because you can have the Browns have had the number 1 ranked quarterback, well the number 2 ranked quarterback before too. If you rank it by interceptions, like you could do that too. You know what I mean? Like how are we ranking it?
I saw there was a tweet going around earlier today. It was like the most overrated player on every team, and I saw they put T Higgins as the Bengals' most overrated player, which I was
that's
shocked
great.
by.
I had CBS had one today that was like the most underrated player was T Higgins.
I think T Higgins is underrated. To be honest,
He should be traded.
He should be traded. Professor Chaos here says the only ranking I care about is edge. Also, I'm curious how Tony will argue without PFF.
Yeah, I will. That'll be a fun one. I don't know where I actually haven't done my rankings yet, so I don't know where I'm going to put everybody.
We know what PFF will rank it.
Yeah. Well, they would put the Raiders number 1.
By the way, we you know what we should do before we start ranking? How are we taking consideration rankings? Like I mean, I've been clear. Like rookies for me, I put them a little bit down.
End that rule.
No,
I put forward a motion to end the rookie rule.
And the rookie rule?
Then
I got to put the Steelers
because no matter what,
they have the best quarterback room ever.
Like, I'm not putting rookies in the ranking. But if you drafted Jordan Davis number 1 overall, we ranking defensive tackles. You're not about to do that. Like the Ravens, I'm not about to put them number 4 this year.
You can't take DeMarvin Leal out of that. You can't be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna
take
I do it every year. No, I literally can't do it.
We can't factor that in. No, that's
George Pickens and Calvin Austin the third. Those guys don't count this year.
Wait. My whole point, for example, for ranking, and we'll debate this when we rank, but my whole point is, it's not that I don't taking into consideration at all. It's that they haven't done shit yet in the NFL, so I just take them.
We project. I mean, we projected for everybody else.
No, but
we don't know.
No, because for free agents, I do the same thing, right? Example, last year I said for safeties, I put the Browns last because I said even though Johnson was great with
you're trying to be accurate and on top. No, we got to leave room to be extremely wrong about these things.
We got there.
That's what makes this entertaining. People only care about the rankings so much because we put the Bengals 4 in like every single one of them, and they won the damn AFC. This is what we got to do. We got to make it spicy.
The reason why I do it, and I don't take rookies into consideration, is because I try to leave my own bias out of it, right? Which is like a rookie is the easiest person to say, I think this person's going to be great. I love this draft pick, right? And so therefore I'm going to overinflate so that it's easier for me to just not take into consideration whatsoever.
Anyways.
What's that?
We gonna overinflate anyways. Like you
just have like
replace your Jordan Pickens overinflation and Deontay Johnson finally not dropping the ball too much inflation. Like we always do this. It's the offseason. It's just meant to be overinflated.
I mean, listen, we can do it with rookies. Listen, I'm willing.
Let's do it. I just don't want it to be a conversation where it's like, oh, I can't project Deshaun Watson in Cleveland because he's
because what's the point of having a conversation right at that point? You know what I mean? We got
I don't want to do it for free agents because
you got to add these variables in. You know what I mean? We just got to throw these variables in. You just mix it up and see what happens. We can't play it safe no more.
By the way,
I'm just telling you right now, Steelers number 1 in quarterbacking. They got the best room assembled. I'm telling you.
What do you
Trubisky
mean?
and Pickett and Mason
right now. What do you mean?
That's 3 first-round picks, dog.
The real question is Baker Mayfield gonna be on the team still when we do these rankings? You know what I mean? Like, am I gonna have to factor him in?
You might.
It brings the room down, actually.
By the way, I saw somebody in Twitter that said the only way I'm rocking with 6, and then put a picture of JOK with number 6.
Oh yeah, if JOK gets 6 back. I feel like this is a petty move by Baker Mayfield, forcing himself not to be traded because he don't want nobody to take his number. But that number's getting taken the second he gets traded or moved or cut. That number is gone. It's not even his number anymore. They might as well say Baker changed his number to 12 or 11 or whatever the hell because he don't have no number. He's not on the team. Baker Mayfield.
I'm telling you, they should just give away his number now. I'm telling you.
Can you imagine the Browns? The Browns. This would be a petty move by the Browns. number change, JOK number 6, and they put Baker Mayfield like the jersey, and then a blank, no number.
They don't even need to put anything. Who buying a Baker Mayfield Browns jersey right now? I want to speak to that sucker. All right.
They're going to be snatching that Mayfield off the back and putting JOK's last name on the back.
Just wear a jacket. Just wear a jacket. It's a Browns
jersey.
Fans
do have a lot of history of changing the names on the back of jerseys. They've got some
just wear a jacket.
In that category.
Just wear a jacket. Yeah, just wear a jacket. Nobody got to see what name is on it. Just wear a jacket.
Okay, they double glove. Damon Masterclass coming to a store near you. I didn't get that one.
It's
about double glove.
It's about Kenny Pickett. Come on, double glove.
Pickett.
I mean, you guys. Listen.
Okay.
That's the weakest nickname of all time, by the way.
You guys got to keep up with the Kenny Pickett memes. Like you guys send them to me, by the way. I like the Arthur one that you guys sent last week. It's cute.
That was funny.
The memes will be funnier during the season.
Yeah, bro. The funniest one that I saw was somebody had what it looks to be an AirPod, right? And I'm like, that's a big ass AirPod.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Kenny Pickett. Yeah, I thought it was funny.
We should do our hand measurements and see how many of us have as big or bigger hands than Kenny Pickett.
I doubt.
It's spoiler warning. None of us are 6'5", like Kenny Pickett is, right? Like,
no, Kenny Pickett's not 6'5". He's not 6'5".
Well, he's 6'3", right?
I think he's 6'2" or 6'3". Yeah.
Well, size was a part of his draft positive chart, right? He has tremendous size.
Okay, now we have to do this shit. What do you measure from here to the?
No, you spread out.
No, I think you spread out as far as you can, and then you go here.
To here? Okay,
yeah,
I've
gotten about what? I almost got to 9, so I think I got bigger hands than Kenny Pickett.
Okay, I'll do mine.
Hey, Kenny, listen, we should keep. You got to do the exercise. Because remember, you can grow it. Kenny,
yeah. You should really stretch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to really,
What?
Yeah. Kenny's also double jointed in his thumb or something or whatever. I don't understand.
And his hands. Wait. He's actually double jointed in his thumbs, and that's what his measurement
I think they
was?
said he's some kind of double jointed in his thumb thing. I don't know.
And he still, dude, his palms must be the smallest palms. What in the world?
Okay,
he got all the advantages, and the best he could get was 8 1/4.
8 1/4.
8.5. I think no. He stretched it out to 8.5.
Oh, stretch it up to 8.
Come on,
dog.
Yeah, listen.
We talk about the gloves.
By training camp, he's gonna have bigger hands than Joe by training
all
camp.
All I'm saying is nobody better let a man wear 2 adult medium gloves at a football game out here ball out on him. Like that should never happen. Okay.
So here, super chat for Nova says, do the Ravens want Bradbury or Landry? Probably no one. I mean, the Bradbury thing is mostly fan base, is what I've seen. I think
for every fan base, by the way. I don't know about you guys, but Steeler fans, it's all day today. Bradbury. It's not going to happen, but
I think it's because the Ravens did try last year to acquire Howard from the Dolphins. I don't think it happened. I think Landry is probably more probable than Bradbury.
Landry would make a lot of sense. That's Willie. We talked about it last week. It's Willie.
Yeah, that's
Willie Snead.
Thoughts on
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson news. What happened?
Oh no, he's not gonna have a hearing, so that might affect his suspension. Like I told y'all, man, we're not about to do this every week. We gonna find out when Deshaun Watson gets suspended when everybody else do, which is we don't know. It's the NFL. They're not gonna tell us anytime soon. Just don't find like I tell people this all the time. Do not scroll up and down Twitter, refreshing it, hoping that you're gonna find out first when we ain't gonna know, and it ain't gonna be no time soon. The season could start and this is gonna loom. You know what I mean? Like this could happen this could happen 2 years from now. It's about 2 years, 2 game suspension or something like that. Like we ain't gonna know, man. Like I followed the Josh Gordon stuff. I'm pretty sure Tony's familiar with this, with the Martavius Bryant saga, Fontes Burfict the same way. Like we have all dealt with these suspensions from the NFL. We know that they don't happen swiftly or routinely or on any type of schedule. So, you know, I get why there's intrigue on that, but just trust me, it will do you a lot better if you just sit back and wait for it to happen whenever it happens, because that's just what it's gonna be.
Yep.
Sorry, got a message there. I was gonna say about what you were talking about is I had a conversation today with a Broncos fan, and I was saying to him like, I personally, obviously, I'm not a Browns fan, but it's like it's ridiculous how the NFL is treating this. Criminal case has been dropped. It's all civil suit. The NFL at this point has everything they need to know right, about these cases to make a determination. They should, whatever it is, right? 2 game, 4 game.
Dog,
6
they
game.
had dudes who were suspended underneath their own drug policy with drug tests that they controlled, that they didn't decide who they're going to suspend till like 3 weeks into the season. This is the NFL that we're dealing with. This shit don't ever make sense. It just isn't going. Like fretting your head and getting like stressed out about how much this does not make sense. Look, man, maybe I'm jaded. Maybe I've been here too many times, but I know better than to try to make sense of what the league office is going to do, because the truth is they don't have a protocol. It goes by a player by player, case by case basis based on what's going to get them the best or worst publicity that they can get so far. And that's just how it gets handled. So we can't look at this like it's going to have any kind of standard. This is not the court of law. It's not going to come up to president. It's going to be random as hell. It just is what it is. You just got to take it for what it is.
MBM month. Shout out to you. Hit that like button. Shout out, dude. Appreciate that. I appreciate
that subscribe button as well, for sure. Because all of those spaces that I've been hearing, hit that subscribe button. If we get another 1,000 subscribers, I don't know what our total is right now.
A little over 7,500.
A AFC North talk spaces. That's the bet. So 8,500. Hit that like button. We're gonna do one. We're gonna bring all of you guys in there, but it's contingent on you guys getting us to 8.5.
I'm gonna have to do some breathing exercises before that one, just to get my heart rate down.
Okay, you know what's something? Just watch that pick on your team will not be on the roster. I don't know about you. It's rare that the Ravens cut anybody.
From the entire draft, even like your, I mean, obviously like 7th and 8th or 6th and 7th rounders, right? I mean, those are usually
even those, like maybe, but we don't have any
practice squad
this year. The running back will be the only one, Bailey.
Yeah,
but I think you cut Hill before. I actually don't think anybody will get cut, even though we had 11 picks. I don't think this year. I think somebody will go into phantom IR that we do.
It's the opposite issue for the Bengals because we only had 6 picks because we traded, unnecessary guys for the 7th and 6th, which the Bengals never do, by the way. They always try to take all of their picks, but this is the first year that they were like, we're going to get rid of picks. So we only had 6. So if there is someone cut, maybe it's Gunter, but I still feel like he would go on to the practice squad if that was the case.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for the Steelers, Mark Robinson, I talked about him last week. I mean, converted running back, played 1 year of college linebacker, so he seems like a real practice squad candidate. And then the other one is Oladokin, the second quarterback the Steelers took in this class.
He gone.
Well, I don't know that he's gone. I talked with Chris Carter on Locked On Steelers about this. I could see a way they keep him because look, what happens if Kenny Pickett wins the job? Do you keep Mason Rudolph as your third quarterback? Like, you can just cut that. You can cut him, save the $3 million, roll it over until next year.
3? Do you guys?
The Steelers only carry 3. Yeah, the Steelers only carry 3.
We carry 2. I assume you guys were doing the same. We carry 2, and we have 1 in PS.
Yeah, so the Steelers will probably carry 3, and then maybe 1 on practice squad. So Oladokin could be practice squad if Kenny doesn't win the job. But if Kenny wins the job, I think Oladokin is your third quarterback because
Kenny gonna win the job.
What's that?
Kenny gonna win the job.
Well, Kenny should win the job just because, like, what are we waiting for? But
yeah, you want to give a 25-year-old a year of rest so he can come out in his literal. Right. By the time, what if you're like, hey man, we'll let Kenny Pickett sit the entirety of this Mitchell Trubisky contract, and he comes out 26?
Yeah, well, that I don't understand.
For his actual prime, his first year is so Brandon Whedon.
How about you, Ace?
I already said mine.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry.
Yep.
It was
K.
Q.
York.
Do you think anybody will be cut?
I'll just mess.
Love it.
It's probably Jerome Ford because Jerome Ford I think is gonna make the team. I think that's gonna make Demetric Felton expendable. Who might become a practice squad guy or just picked up because they're just Alabama deep at running back right now. Who else? I mean, there's the guy the center. It's hard for centers to make the team, especially when they already got 2 of them on the roster. So yeah, it's probably gonna be that last dude that they drafted. That would make sense.
Yeah.
If Carmen plays, he's going to be a beast this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to motivate him is to get as much competition there. I think he has shown that he can be a pretty nasty guy in the offensive line for the Bengals, but we'll have to see it.
Okay, Sonny, Thoughts on Landry coming in A's? Y'all have no orange pants. Can you elaborate? Okay, let me just say about Landry. I've been saying the Ravens, what they need is that possession receiver, that big body receiver, right? So obviously, I think I would love a Landry type of receiver here in Baltimore. With that, yes, Ace. I was confused. I guess I never noticed you guys didn't have orange pants. I just
Yeah, that was something that came up last year. Now they did go with, I believe, 3 different styles of pants, but there was some reason, it was some kind of NFL thing where they said like they couldn't do it last year, but I think they have the room to do it this year. And there was also something about the helmet, which I think has changed for all teams, I think this year, where you can have that second helmet. So hopefully we'll get the orange pants this year.
Okay. Ace got that lucky in the sky with diamonds background. So bright and dazzling.
Appreciate that. Shout out to my man Sean Volkner. He makes some good artwork, and even if it doesn't have to be Bengals based, he will do it for other teams and has done it for other players. He's an amazing artist. And he's on Twitter.
Hit me up. I would like to see more. Hit me up on Twitter. Then also here says Brown should be 4 at QB as Watson won't play. And
I don't know. Trevor Bauer got like a 2-year suspension in baseball, and now everybody's like, "Oh, the Watson's gonna get suspended for 5 years." And it's like, okay, shut up, idiot. Like, first of all, Trevor Bauer's whole situation is not like the same as that one when it comes to a legal standpoint. And also, like, you look up Trevor Bauer and his history, and his status as a repeat offender in certain ways. And then come talk to me about that. And then that's baseball. It's a completely different league. Why are people are so starved for a story right now? They're doing the whole, well, this got somebody 5, like when Ndamukong Suh kicked somebody in the nuts. We're not looking at, hey man, Draymond Green got 3 games in the finals, so then Ndamukong Suh should get 3 games in the finals. Like, it's just.
I will say this for the whole situation, whatever the suspension is, right? Whatever it is,
People will be mad.
No,
that's all I know.
What I was gonna say, he cannot repeat it at all, right? Once this is clear, if he does,
if he has another situation pop up like this again, it's a wrap for him, right? Like that's the gamble that the Browns are taking, is that this is already something that's looming over his head. So if he has something like this pop up, then all of a sudden, it's already kind of hard to believe his story right now. But like, if it happens again, come on, man. Like, it's just, you're gonna have to get him out the paint. That's the gamble in trading for Deshaun Watson. You hope that you did enough research to go, whatever that was, wherever it wasn't, it ain't happening again.
Exactly.
Right? That's what they were doing the due diligence about. They weren't really doing the due diligence about whether he did it or not. They can't really figure that out or control it, given the nature of those crimes that have been alleged. But what you can do is, hey, do you think he's gonna do it again? Allegedly, if you think he has not or not done it, and if it happens again, then egg on your face. You didn't do enough research. But that's the gamble, right? Whether he gets suspended for it or not, they don't care if he gets suspended for 6-8 games or even this whole season. They signed him for a 5-year deal. Like, this is clearly a long-term move when it comes to that. That's more or less what the long-term worry should be about, is that if something like this surfaces up again, like, then it becomes unavoidable at that point if you're the league and honestly if you're the team.
Yeah, I agree. Ace, what do you think about the possibility of not resigning Von Bell and using that cash to resign Bates and Hill? Seems a better tandem.
I would say this, and I've kind of talked to, I think, people about this. I think I actually said this in the spaces. What the Bengals will do, since Jesse Bates has kind of rejected what they've given, they're going to make him a final offer, because Jesse Bates and Von Bell are both free agents after this season. They will go to Jesse Bates. They will offer him their final deal. And if he does not take it, they will offer that same deal to Von Bell. And Von Bell probably would take it. And that'll be it. So I think, sure, I would like to take the money from Von Bell and give it to Jesse Bates, but Jesse Bates literally has the same agent as Deshaun Watson, who's all about the guaranteed money. So if he says no to this last deal, then I think that they're going to offer it to Von Bell, and that will determine who's coming back between those two.
Playbook.
Hold on. Go ahead.
The Bengals pulling one out the Steelers playbook when it came to Mike Wallace and Antonio Brown. 2
The
dogs.
Steelers,
one
believe it or
bone.
not, as much as we hate each other, the Steelers and Bengals, like the way that they do things, like contract wise and just with free agents and stuff, they are very similar to each other in that regard for sure. So yeah, it's worked out sometimes. It hasn't worked out sometimes. The time that it worked out, they did that with Michael Johnson and Carlos Dunlap, I believe. Then Carlos Dunlap ended up working out. Another time where it kind of worked out was like Leon Hall, but then Leon Hall started to get hurt. Jonathan Joseph ended up obviously doing his thing for other teams. So we'll see how it goes.
It's better to be the cheap team than the team that gives out money to anybody. You know what I mean? Like it's better to be a little conservative because again, this is the salary cap league. Like if you screw it up, you will set yourself back.
Professor Chaos here says, do you guys see how much was taking out of Sauce Gardner's deal? No, but Uncle Sam and whoever the fees for the
because New York taxes.
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming, right?
Okay.
And then the fees for whoever the agent is. Yeah,
Yeah. Look, I like Sauce, but Sauce showed up to the draft with the hot sauce chain, and all I'm gonna say is, boy, I hope he's good. I hope for his own financial well-being he is good, because he wore his whole first contract on his neck at the draft. Like, I hope he gets to that second contract, because I don't want to see him out here like T.O. playing fan control football just to make something back. Like, you know what I mean? I want Sauce to be able to live a financially stable life, and I already know that man got that money and went straight to the jewelry store. He got that commissioned. All right, like that. Some of these dudes got chains on that they borrowed from like a jeweler that they'll let them wear for the draft to look fly. No, Sauce had that made hot sauce, jewel encrusted, and it was not small, and it had a lot of diamonds on it. Like,
gotta have your brand, man. He's all about his brand. Listen, these guys
that was
gotta
a
go.
2005 bling bling chain. Like, remember when they used to have the G unit joints that span? That's what Sauce showed up to the draft in, but it was hot sauce. Like, I haven't seen that level of stunt in a while. I hope Sauce is really good, man, because
New York cost of living. I'm just saying.
His
name is Sauce Gardner. You know how bad of a life that's gonna be if he's not good. You getting cooked, and your name is Sauce. He about to get cooked worse than Eli Apple if he not good, right? Like, you know, Eli Apple got all of these. Oh, it's just waiting for it. Oh yeah, Sauce. But that, like, I just hope Sauce is good. That's all I'm gonna say. I think he's gonna be really good. But like
one thing about rookie contracts, and maybe this was this way last year and I just missed it. Have you noticed that basically every first round contract this year has been fully guaranteed? Was it that way last year? Is that new?
It's been like that for a while, right?
It's been trending that way. Okay,
trending that way. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's why, like,
all, but most of them.
Yeah.
It's why you can't.
All of them this year have been
like
guaranteed from what I've seen.
Yeah. To be honest, guys, if they're rookies, like if I ever knew a prospect, it was my best friend. The first thing I will say to them, like, don't get an agent, and for your rookie contract, don't get an agent. It's just you're getting what you're getting. There's no really. If you're a first rounder talent, just say I just want fully guarantee whatever's given to me. Now for the next one, if you want to get an agent, or after you sign that contract, you're gonna get an agent for sponsorship and all that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's what I would say. If you're not a quarterback and you're not gonna get like those deals or anything like that, I'd agree. Like, it wouldn't be anything there wouldn't really be a reason for you to have an agent, but just depends.
I'm just saying you gotta
be like a surefire top 10 guy though. Like, you gotta be like Chase Young, to be able to get away with that, right? Because your agent does do a lot of work when it comes to
traveling and setting stuff up,
getting you certain access with training, paying. And remember, this is before a lot of these guys like play college football before NIL, so it's going to change after NIL. But it's not going to change in the way that people aren't going to have agents. Now people are going to come in with their own agents. But remember, if you're a college kid and you're supposed to be a first round pick, you still need to pay for training. How do you pay for training? You ain't been in the NFL one day in your life. That's your agent that usually foots that bill for you, right? So I get what Sauce is doing. Like, he posted that thing up there, and yeah, taxes is going to take a lot out of it, but it costs a lot of money to get drafted that high. It does. And when it comes to training and connections and getting everything out there. So, you know, that's cost of doing business. It's why you should not buy 14-pound hot sauce chains before you signed your first NFL contract.
Hey,
It's
You
just-
should have campaigned to go to the Jags. You should have tried to get those no Florida State taxes.
That's right.
That's
Or,
what I'm saying.
or the Texans.
You should have did an NIL year in Miami. It just got that chain money out there, but I'm pretty sure he didn't get any NIL money in Cincinnati, or he might have got a little bit, but not enough to commission that damn chain. That chain heavy. I was worried about his neck. He's not a big man. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, hey, he gonna mess up his
that chain
out there
chain
with
got
all
some
that
ice.
ice.
Yeah.
Like, that was crazy.
Nah. Okay. Tony, let's pay some bill, man.
Oh, of course. Well, of course, today on the show, we're going to be reviewing the Bengals draft class and the Steelers draft class. But for those of you who missed the NFL draft, let me remind you, with the first pick in the NFL draft, Ball Saxonville decided to pick Manscaped to stock up their D. Manscaped is the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, and they have sponsored us today to make sure you don't get booed out of the bedroom like Roger Goodell. Support us and head over to manscaped.com and use our exclusive promo code AFC North Talk. AFC North Talk, all one word at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Everyone was asking why combine athletes ran the 40-yard dash so fast this year. Well, a big reason was because of the Lawnmower 4.0. This elite electric trimmer now serves over 4 million men worldwide. That's a lot of aerodynamic pants potatoes. Because of their ceramic blade and skin-safe technology, your nicks and snags will be reduced. After trimming, your package will look as big as what the Seahawks got in return for Russell Wilson. I want you to look in the mirror, fellas. Do you see any nose or ear hairs dangling? The ladies out there think that long nose hair is a major turnoff, and the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer is your solution. Why not use the best tools for the job here? Their performance package also comes with the anti-chafing performance boxer briefs, a travel bag. The Crop Preserver is anti-chafing ball deodorant, and the Crop Reviver is a spray-on toner. They also have launched some amazing hygiene products for men, ranging from a cologne-infused body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, and aluminum-free deodorant. So head on over to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping. But remember to use our promo code AFC North Talk, AFC North Talk, all one word, at manscaped.com.
Okay. We have a couple super chats, and then we're gonna go with the Steelers here. Deshaun Watson, not a Peter fan, they're 22. Yeah, but they're just taking whatever suspension comes with that, and then they're gonna go from there.
If
Bengals
there's another set, I wouldn't even say it has to be 22, but if there's another set of new accusations that come out in Cleveland, then that's two separate instances in two separate cities. You know what I mean? Like that two separate states. That's where it becomes like, okay, this dude has a serial problem, and y'all trying to like brush on the rug. Y'all gotta get rid of him.
Bengals can run so much at a three safety nickel. They are going to be an absolute terror. Carmen should play guard with a center. He can blossom.
3 safety nickel is called dime. Just an FYI.
Yeah, so I'll get into more of that when we talk about the Bengals draft. I'll talk about that a little bit.
Sorry, I didn't mean to call you. It just bothered me.
No. He needs to learn those mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, he or she needs to learn those mistakes. You know what I mean? But just rookie mistake. It's all right. But yeah. By the way,
but they are right. I mean, like going back to the super chat, like yes, we'll talk about that when we talk about the Bengals class. Like they can run dime a lot this year.
but we was talking about overrated Bengals, and I don't know how much you got to hate T. Higgins and ignore the fact that Jesse Bates is right there. If you wanted to call somebody overrated, I'm not saying he is, but I was saying it. Come on now, they would say he was like the best safety on earth at last offseason, and he was like all right this year. You know what I mean? Like
he definitely closed strong.
Yeah, he definitely had a down season during the regular season. Like the only thing that was his saving grace, which is as soon as the playoffs started, he just
the mediocre Ryan Tannehill. And I don't want to call Derek Carr mediocre, but he's not like good. Well, he's not like great. But it was Ryan Tannehill, Derek Carr. They gave him a couple. Then I think he even got Patrick Mahomes there.
He got Mahomes as well. Yeah, he did. It turned on in the playoffs. I don't know. I'm not gonna make any accusations or anything, but yeah, it was a mixed bag last year.
Not to fully derail here, but I will say, like when I'm thinking about overrated Bengals players, not say this player's. I think he's only overrated because he was underrated, and now like he's so talked about that I think I would probably put him more overrated at this point. Is Logan Wilson for me? It's like, all right, look, Logan Wilson, he's a decent player. But like when we start talking about Logan Wilson as like one of the best linebackers in the league, and that's where I go, wait, time out. He was good. But like slow down.
It was because of his defense on Cooper Kupp. Like people would be like, they would never see any kind of linebacker being able to check Cooper Kupp, and he did a pretty good job until the ref decided to throw some laundry. So
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of the Logan Wilson hype train has come from.
Yeah.
That gonna be the Bengals dude this year? Is that what Bengals Twitter gonna tell me? He's gonna be the best guy on the defense.
Wait for the rank.
That's on the defense. Nah, Logan Wilson is one of the best players on the defense, but I don't think any Bengals fan would put him over like Trey Hendrickson, Cheeto, Jesse Bates. I don't even think they would put him over Jesse Bates.
What about Mike Hilton? Where do you guys?
They would put him over Mike Hilton. They would put him over Mike Hilton, but Mike Hilton is a monster too. So, but I think they would probably put Logan Wilson over Mike Hilton.
Okay. Well, the new defensive coordinator be noticeable. We will still cover zero all the time, and will edge rushers be productive. Will the Ravens finally get an interception? I had no idea what the new guy is gonna run. To be honest, he was here for forever. And
that's what someone told me. He was with the Ravens before, right?
He just left for a year.
Back.
Yeah, He left for a year to Michigan, and the Michigan's defense became great that year, right? He had two great rushers, and he knew how to utilize them. My hope is he does the same here. And we blitz a little bit less. We play a little bit more zone because the thing is, as I tell most people that come with me saying, Sonny, why we don't get that much interceptions? I always say, we play man. Man, usually you don't get interceptions unless the quarterback makes a very, very bad pass. Zone is when the corner can read the quarterback and can make the play for the interception. But we'll see. We'll see what he plays. I really right now cannot tell you what is his philosophy, really. We'll see.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think first year in that new defense, right? You're going to have a new starter out there in Kyle Hamilton.
Yep.
You think y'all going to get blown up over the top a lot this year?
Well, we had Williams to be the free safety, right?
Who?
Marcus Williams?
Marcus Williams?
Marcus.
Oh, yeah. So you have a completely new safety room. My bad. So like none of these dudes have been in this defense before.
Yeah.
I know what that.
Well, Chuck
like.
Clark didn't get cut. He didn't get cut.
No,
Chuck Clark ain't doing nothing down the field.
Well, you said whole new. I just wanted to make sure we were factually correct here.
If Chuck Clark backpedals more than 10 yards in a play, it's already over, dog. Like that no.
The new defensive thing, I think that's what Quincy's getting at. Sometimes it doesn't matter who you have as players. Like Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap, we had all of those guys, but depending on how drastic the scheme change is, you got to prepare yourself for the defense to look bad.
Yeah,
the communication in the secondary just takes forever. It's one of those things. Like it takes forever for a group to gel like that. Sometimes you get a special group and they can just click right away, but it usually takes a while. And while they're taking that while to do it, it's frustrating, right? The Browns had like 10 games where you're like, man, what is going on with these with all of this communication, right? Where you just see guys just bust open. Remember, we were watching Mike Williams score like 4 touchdowns on the Browns, and he was not touched a single one of those plays. Like that's what I would worry about with the Ravens. I know they did a lot of that stuff to stop getting beat over the top, but just by switching all those dudes out, you kind of run the risk of getting beat over the top because let's say they're relying on Kyle Hamilton to kind of be the ace of that defense, right? When it comes to the safety position. You relying on a rookie to make some calls, because you got to, right? Because you need him to make those calls. I know Marcus is going to help, but Kyle's going to be the guy you want to give all that responsibility to because he's going to be here long term, and he's just going to come with some mistakes, man. It's going to come with some bad rotations. It's going to come with some bad adjustments. You know what I mean? Some people flashing when they shouldn't. It just happens, So I would say this is going to be a patience year for Baltimore Ravens fans, especially they run more zone. That's just going to take some patience for a team.
The one thing, though, I'll say is the fact that the guy was in Baltimore, I think makes it a little different, at least from my standpoint. Like, because when Lou showed up and just was like, oh, we're going to a 3-4, and you guys ran a 4-3 and all of this, it was just ugly. So that's the one thing that I can say is it might be to their advantage that he's kind of familiar with their personnel, what they can do. And I don't know if he's going to run the same system or not. But, Yeah, if it does go from man to zone, like Quincy is saying, that's a completely different thing.
I agree. No, I think they're gonna have a
Especially-
hybrid.
well, how was Marcus Peters in the zone? I feel like that could be a mixed bag.
Marcus Peters in the zone. So 2019. So the Ravens.
he was in zone
so let me start with this. The Ravens will never abandon man press coverage, right?
Well, obviously, yeah.
My point is, I guess they're still gonna lean more heavily on the man press. The problem is they have been I feel like 80% man, and I think they might. This again, I have no idea what this guy's gonna run, but if they want to get more interceptions, they have to push a little bit more into the zone, even in special packages, right? So, but we'll see. Peters, when he got to Baltimore, we were running a little bit more zone than we have in the past last 2 years, I will say. That's when he got more interceptions, right? He got the pick six. He got to
say because Marcus Peters is known to gamble. You can't really gamble in man, so you keep him kind of under wraps.
Yeah.
You don't get some of that great Marcus Peters stuff, but you definitely tone down the bad Marcus Peters stuff you get when you put him in a lot of man. But that zone Marcus Peters, boy, it's gonna be either look like Ed Reed or look like Steve Reed. You know what I mean? Like it could be anybody out there on some of them plays because he'll just bite, thinking he can just hop something.
Professor Cass says, Sonny, you can give the advice to Lamar Jackson. We'll see. Again, time will tell with him and his contract. Be more nervous as F it. Buying the Manscaped thing. Hey. Thanks for saving me 16. Keep it going. Shout out to you, by the way. It works here because I bought it through the UK and the promo code does work in the UK. So shout out to you, man.
And they're, obviously ad rate aside, but legitimately great products. I think, I can speak highly about plenty of their products. They are legit.
Yeah. And here says, step up y'all background gang. Ace is killing it. I'm not putting a dime in this rental. When I get back, definitely want to have a better background. But here, yeah, that crooked, that's a spit. And I know you can't see it, but putting this shit here, I broke a little bit of the wallpaper, and that's gonna cost me. So yeah, I'm not touching that shit anymore. Okay, let's start this.
You should at least hang up your chain.
Yeah, it's true. We gotta bring the chain back. Come on,
bring the chain back.
The chain will come back when it needs to come back.
But didn't you put the chain away and then y'all lost 6 straight? Like this chain has power, dog. Like you wore it, they got to 8-4, and you were feeling good. Then they lost the game. You put the chain away, and that chain ain't never come back. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the Ravens are in last place, and they've won 1/6 of their divisional games this year. I mean, that's wild.
To be fair, I saw a Ravens chain that I like. It wasn't as big, it wasn't as tacky, and I tried to order it, but eBay didn't want to bring it to the UK. Or send it to my AP, my.
No, they knew who was ordering it. They're like, nah, suddenly you put bad juju on them.
Yeah, the Ravens fan wants to send me a new chain for the Ravens, like a better chain. Please do. I'll pay for it.
A better chain? Come on, this.
Not so. This is
that chain has worked out tremendously for us.
Yeah, Sonny, how dare you? That's a great
chain. Even with the chain, the Ravens were never the same after Sonny lost his sunglasses at Disney.
Oh, that's actually true.
Sonny got to go back to Orlando in order for the Ravens to ever be in first place again.
I picked up his glasses. Remember the episode? I found his glasses in Disney.
I legit almost cried. I never. Shout out to my parents. They found the same type of glasses and they bought it for me on Christmas. Shout out to them.
Oh.
Anyway,
are you bringing them back? Are you bringing them back this year?
Of course,
I am.
Of course, I am. Okay, let's talk about the Steelers class because we have been almost an hour in, and we had to talk about the Steelers class here. Tony, I remember day one. It was fun. There's a picture somewhere when Kenny Pickett gets drafted. All of us celebrating. You're like, it's amazing. Go find it.
It was going to get used all year. Both of them, though. Us celebrating Tony Knott and the Tony face. I've already used that meme on some unrelated stuff. Like, you know what? This is the right meme for the moment. Poop Tony's face right.
But I will say this, and I'll throw it to you, Tony. But other than Kenny Pickett, right? I was, I didn't watch no film on a quarterback because why? But I did watch Pickens, and Pickens, I liked him a lot. And another guy that we haven't talked at all. Leo
Yeah.
guy. I liked him a lot. I thought he was great coming out of college. So those two picks I liked a lot. The rest of them, and including Pickett. But Tony, what do you think about this class?
Yeah, well, okay, let's start. Okay, because I don't want to be a hypocrite here, and I know a lot of people are doing that. There was a great tweet that I saw like right after the draft. I retweeted it. It's the guy who says, I really didn't like player X before the draft, but now I've watched him tape and I've really come around on him, which is like the typical thing that we all do, which is like, I know I said I didn't like it before, but now that I've really dug in, I'm really come around on this guy.
That's
I
what
have not.
This has happened. I'm okay with it. You know what I mean?
Look, I have not come around on Kenny Pickett, but I will say, and I said this before the draft, right? My big thing with the Steelers this year is that I didn't want them to settle at 20. I didn't want them to be the fourth team to take a quarterback. I really wanted them to be the first, because for me, it was a statement of intent, right? It's like, look, we're going to go get our replacement for Ben Roethlisberger, but not because we have to, because he just retired, but because a guy we love is there, and we're going to go get that kid. Now, obviously, they didn't have to move up to get Kenny Pickett. He was there at 20. But, the more you hear Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin talk, it is clear that Kenny Pickett was not just their QB1, obviously, because he was the first quarterback taken, but he was by far their QB1. And they did try to move up to get him. So, look, I'm not going to say that I know better than Kevin Colbert or I know better than Mike Tomlin when it comes to quarterback play. Yes, I will trust their judgment, and I hope I'm wrong. But I don't think people watch the show to hear us come on here and say, I trust my coaches, and that's my analysis of it. So let's actually talk about who Kenny Pickett is, the player, and why I am. Look, here's another thing about Kenny. I don't think Kenny Pickett's going to be a bust. I'm not worried about the idea that Kenny Pickett is going to come in and just be an absolute joke and out of the league in 3 years, right? When Quincy compares Kenny Pickett to Nathan Peterman, like, that doesn't really scare me all that much. What really hurt me on draft night, if you want to know what really got to me, that like as soon as he got picked, is what Ace said the moment they read Kenny Pickett's name. Ace said, and I'll quote here, "Welcome to the Andy Dalton experience." And that is exactly what I am afraid of. Because really, when you think about quarterback play and drafting a quarterback, there are three options, right? You could number one, end up with a franchise guy, a guy you love, who you're like, this kid's going to be here for 15 years. We can win a Super Bowl with this kid. We could build around him, right? We got our dude. The second option is you get an absolute out-and-out bust, right? You get Josh Rosen, right? You get Sam Darnold, the guy who you're like, that will be right back to it in 3 years, right? But those two options to me are better than the third option, because the third option is you get a guy who you're like, well, he might, this guy, we could win with this guy. No. Listen, I know we could still there. If you squint real hard enough, like there's a franchise guy in there somewhere, right? And you see fan bases do this to themselves, right? It's like when the Titans made the AFC Championship game 2 years ago against the Chiefs, right? Titans fans convinced themselves like, "Ooh, we got Ryan Tannehill. Listen, we're gonna upset the Chiefs." When every single person outside of the city of Tennessee knew the exact same thing. Sorry, Tennessee. Patrick Mahomes versus Ryan Tannehill is a massive play. There's a play differential there, so there was no chance for Ryan Tannehill to win that game, and obviously they got blown out. What I worry about Kenny Pickett is, I don't worry he's going to be a bust. I worry he's going to come in, and yeah, we're all going to convince ourselves that, like, no, listen, Kenny, they can win with Kenny. They can, Kenny's going to do just enough. That's my big worry with Kenny. A couple things that get said about Kenny that I don't buy into at all. The hand size thing, number one. I know it's funny to talk about, but hand size, when we talk about hand size, right, the real worry here, it goes hand in hand with fumbles and fumble rate, right? And, Kenny Pickett's going to come to the National Football League, and he's going to have a fumble problem because he can't hold on to the ball. Well, Kenny Pickett had 2,000 snaps at the collegiate level, more than any other player in like the last 3 years that was drafted in the first round. So we have a ton of numbers on Kenny Pickett.
You're saying that many super seniors come out?
Yes, not that well, because it is unique because
he's
of
not
COVID.
a super senior.
Yeah.
He's a COVID senior.
No, super senior is the COVID senior thing.
Yeah.
Redshirt
Super
senior
is usually a fifth year guy.
He is a fifth year guy. He didn't redshirt. So he
didn't redshirt. Oh, so he's just 5 years.
He's 5 years, but he got the fifth year because of a super senior thing. Sonny, I'm going to share my screen real quick because I have a
right.
Yeah. So I put this together. This is, maybe I can zoom in so you guys. I don't know if everybody can see this. But
There you go. That's good.
Perfect. Okay, so these fumble numbers. By the way, looking into fumble numbers at the collegiate level, so fumbles are not an official stat at the collegiate level.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of a mess.
A mess is an understatement. Q. Okay, looking into fumble numbers, don't do it. These numbers are low. I will say that. but they're low directionally all the same way, right? If you go to, I've seen Kenny Pickett's fumble numbers as 26. I've seen it as high as 38. This data comes from ESPN Stats and Info. I got this data from a website called collegefootballdata.com. And they have a beautiful API to pull these numbers down, thank goodness, because it actually made it easy to pull these in. But like the thing I want to just point out here is so what I did is I counted up all the attempts and all of the rushing attempts, right? So passing attempts and rushing attempts. And the reason why you have to do rushing attempts is because sacks in college football count as a carry, which is the stupidest thing, but that is how they do it. So if you want to count when he got sacked, you have to count his carries. So you'll see though, Kenny Pickett, 2,000 attempts, 22 fumbles, leaving you with a percentage.
Yeah, Tony.
By the way, then okay. That's lower than Desmond Ridder. That's lower than Malik Willis. That's lower than Sam Howell. Right? These are all the same guys in his own class who had, big hands. Right? So is he going to be a fumbler? Well, we have the most data on Kenny Pickett of any player in this draft, and it wasn't so much a problem in college as compared to his own class. So unless you think that the football being up to an inch bigger at the next level is going to be that's going to make the difference here. Again, I think it's a fun thing to talk about, and obviously all the memes you guys have sent me are hilarious. But I don't know that I so much worry about this when it comes to Kenny Pickett. And then the second thing that I hear all the time when it comes
what about the bad weather performances at the Senior Bowl when it comes to that and how that correlates to the hand side? Do you think that was just a coincidence or?
No. Look, I think that, yes, the bad weather stuff is a question mark, but he played at Pitt, right? So he's played in some bad weather games.
Yeah, but in college, though, the season doesn't really happen during the bad weather portion of the fall like it does in the NFL, right?
Well,
you pretty much you're done by like mid-December, and then you have your championship game. Half of those games are in the ACC, so those are Southern schools. And then also you're in control of how you slate that schedule in college more so than the NFL, so you can kind of make it so you're not playing too many late December games. And in NFL, like if Kenny Pickett's worth anything, you want him playing in January. That's a whole different beast in the NFL than like early December, because we know like it's cold in the Midwest, but it don't get that cold until like February and January here.
No. Look. You're right. He didn't play a late December or an early January game, but much like I just showed with that stat there, right? It's like, look, I didn't see him playing in those exact conditions, but in the conditions that I can control for, going up against guys like Malik Willis in his own class, it wasn't an issue, right? So again, look, you could project and say that I'm worried about it in those moments, and I wouldn't say you're wrong to do that, but I think if we're saying it is going to, like if you're saying it is going to be a problem because it was a problem at the collegiate level, there's just no data to back that up. At this point, it's still just a projection of what's going to happen in December or late December or early January. The other thing that I don't buy when it comes to the breakdown of Kenny Pickett is the level of competition stuff. Right? Because people, you get this kind of, and I've seen a lot of people say this, which is, well, he improved his numbers year over year, but it was a uniquely bad year in the ACC. Now, I will agree that it was a bad year in the ACC, but it was a bad year in the ACC because Clemson was super bad. I mean, Clemson was a 3-loss team. The secret of the ACC is that the ACC is just not a good conference, period, end of story, right? They just happen to have Clemson in it, who's a national contender every single year. And so we forget the fact that in ACC title games in years past, Clemson beat Virginia 62-17, or they beat Pitt like 35-10, actually the average of the last 4 ACC title games that Clemson played in, the average score is 44-10. Who's the second best team in the ACC over that time span?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's not in the ACC. They only let them in 1 year because of COVID.
I think the point is more or less, we know that the only difference between the ACC and the AAC is really Clemson.
Right.
So if a player was coming out the AAC, like Desmond Ridder, right, level of competition comes up for him. Even though they consistently have top 25 ranked teams, multiple of them in that conference, it still comes up for him. So how is it not valid for Kenny Pickett knowing that, hey, the year that he really broke out was also the year where the only thing that makes the ACC a Power 5 conference, the only program that does, was terrible. Yeah. So I looked into that too, right? Yeah, because Clemson had a down year, and that is true. Clemson had a down year. They were 3-loss. But the reason why they were bad was not because of their defense. It was because of their offense, right? DJ Uiagalelei was very bad. So if you looked at defenses in college, lost for Clemson, like it had to be more than just the offense that was bad for you to lose 3 games in the ACC if you're Clemson. Like there's more going on.
Well, one of their losses was to Georgia in the opener, so they really only had two conference losses. The EPA per play of Clemson's defense was the 4th best defense in college football last year. So defensively, they really weren't bad. In fact, they were one of the best defenses in college football. Really, go look at DJ Uiagalelei's stats. I mean, when they were rushing the field when this kid got to 200 yards passing, because he was just not good. And I also looked at, by the way, ACC year over year, 2020 to 2021, EPA per play defensively of the entire conference. They're identical. So look, the reason why Kenny Pickett was so good in 2021 from a stats perspective, to my eyes, is because he just got better. I mean, the guy literally got better. Now I know I'm going on long here. I warned you guys before the show. I could go on for an hour. So
I'll stop on Pickett. Love Pickett.
I'll stop on Kenny Pickett. Right. I've kind of said my piece. If you want to do a play breakdown later on in the show, I do have a play we can break down, which I think it goes over everything. Yeah.
This is just like one point I want to hit on. So like, again, if we're saying the ACC is pretty much the same conference every year, except for Clemson normally is good, right? And the defense that he played. So for Kenny Pickett's purposes, Clemson wasn't down because he was playing against a good Clemson defense. Basically what you're saying here.
Yeah.
What difference is that from Desmond Ritter's body of work this year, where he played 2 Power 5 schools? Well, Notre Dame and then Indiana and then Alabama this year. Like,
I don't.
So would level of play be more of an issue for Kenny Pickett or Desmond Ritter to you?
I don't think level of competition was. Look, there's tape against Notre Dame's defense that I can see against Kenny Pickett and against Bama, right? And for not for Kenny, for Ritter. And then for Kenny, you still have that game against Clemson that you can look at, right? If you want to point to like, well, let me see him play against a high level.
A little different for him because he's had 3 years of going up against that defense.
Well, no, and this is the big thing, right? And if you wanted to kind of hand wave his last year and say, well, of course he was going to put up big numbers his last year. To me, I would say it's kind of a man amongst boys situation. You're talking about a guy playing in his 5th year in what is essentially the same offense. You should expect that he's going to make a big leap in that last year when he's going up against, mostly 19, 20, 21-year-olds. Yeah, I mean, a 24-year-old quarterback he should be cerebral enough at that level. We see this at the NFL level, right? Where guys they start to understand what they're going to see on a play-to-play basis, and they just intrinsically get better because they know what they're seeing. I think that, that does certainly account for a lot of why Kenny Pickett was so good in that final year, because he did make a leap mentally, knew what he was looking at. He was able to make the reads better. And I think that is, that did account for so much of his improved play in 21.
The thing with Kenny Pickett, and I guess I'll just roll into what I think about the pick.
Yeah.
The thing with Kenny Pickett, he kind of reminds me, and this is a cross sport thing, I know, but like, it reminds me when Adam Morrison came out, where everybody's talking about how crafty Adam Morrison was and how savvy and smart he was. And to me, I was like, it's not good if you're talking about getting that from a college player, because if you got to work that hard to get a bucket in college, like, how hard are you going to have to work in the NFL? And it's kind of a similar thing with Kenny Pickett. All the stuff is about how savvy, smart he is, how he can figure out certain things. And, he doesn't have all this talent or whatever, but he's pro ready. And that concerns me, right?
Well,
because
course.
if you have to be that polished coming out of college, one, to just have a good year, but two, like, you really shouldn't have to be that polished coming out of college. Like, yeah, there's a level of polish that people would expect out of a guy who started 3-4 years, but there's a concern, right? Like, I think this is a thing within NFL scouts where a guy comes out of college and he's way too polished, right? Nate Orchard is a guy that always pops up in my mind. He was a 2nd-round pick for the Browns, had like 25 sacks, I think, at Utah. Came out, and all people talk about Nate Orchard polished, day one ready. He never started a game for the Cleveland Browns because he had all that polish. He just wasn't talented enough to make it in the NFL. Same thing with Derek Barnett, right? Super polished pass rusher coming out of college, to the point where Booger McFarland was talking about, hey, man, we're gonna take Derek Barnett over Myles Garrett because see Derek Barnett put it together with his pass rush moves. And it turned out Derek Barnett's okay, but he's not Myles Garrett, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, with me, I would be concerned about getting the polished quarterback guy. Like, that's not an exceptional prospect, right? There is every once in a while Andrew Luck, who is extremely polished, but also ceiling is the roof with the kid, right? And I think this was Tony's whole point before the draft, right? Why he would go with Malik Willis over a guy like Kenny Pickett was, with Malik Willis, that thing ain't polished at all. They haven't even sanded Malik Willis yet,
Right.
Not ready to get the second coat of paint on, let alone polish. So you have no idea what that's going to look like. With Kenny Pickett, it's like, well, either he looks good in camp or he doesn't, but you'll know. Like, there's not a lot to be discovered with him, right? If he goes out there And by week 5, he doesn't look good. He's probably just going to be that, right, for the rest of his career. There really isn't a lot for him to learn or unlock.
Yeah, how much meat is on that bone? It's a great point, because it's the big question when it comes to Kenny is like, look, he made this big leap. Okay, so you saw someone who got a lot better from senior to super senior. How much is left on the bone? One other thing I want to say is I don't want to act like the only thing that he's got going for him is his IQ stuff. Because again, I don't know that necessarily translates. Look, he does have one
a pretty bad. What was the test? I know it doesn't matter, but he had a bad. What's it called? The
Wonderlic.
Wonderlic. He had a bad Wonderlic.
No, they don't give the Wonderlic anymore. I thought they stopped doing the Wonderlic.
Did they?
Like 2 years ago, I believe.
Somebody dropped the Wonderlic, and like Kenny Pickett had like a 15 or something on it.
No, I think they stopped doing the Wonderlic. He does, but to speak of his traits, right? Because arm strength is.
I know they don't make it mandatory anymore.
Right. Arm strength is a big concern, but I will tell you this: Kenny Pickett, of all of his traits, accuracy, tremendous accuracy. I would actually say he's got elite accuracy. And it's not just like Kenny Pickett can drop back, see the field, and then deliver an accurate shot. We're talking about in or out of the pocket, out of structure, and it's at all 3 levels. I mean, there are plays on tape where Kenny Pickett can hit a guy in stride down the field, guy on his back, and it's right in the breadbasket. If there's a reason why 3 years from now we're looking back at this segment and going like, man, remember when they thought Kenny wasn't going to be any good? The reason why he's going to succeed at the next level is that accuracy. If he can stay that accurate and keep some of that IQ at the next level, he will be a good quarterback. The question is, how does this kind of football savvy translate for a guy who's seen that much college ball, and then he's got to do it at the NFL level?
The
I've got one thing that I want to share here.
It's a meme.
So I'm over here just looking at his profile and everything, and I see Andy Dalton in his prime years as a comparison. The one thing I'll say is this:
they had to put in his prime.
In his prime, he only had one.
Time out.
I don't know where years came from.
Prime Andy Dalton. Prime Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton got a prime card now. This is what we do it. This is what we do it. We just give anybody a prime card.
This is what we're doing.
Just say prime Ray Lewis, prime Big Ben. Now we out here, prime Andy Dalton.
Prime Andy. So this is what I'll say about just the Steelers draft at the quarterback position. This is one of the things that we kind of, when we first came together, we talked about quarterback hell, the risk that the Steelers were taking with, not taking a quarterback, right? I'll say this though, even though I've bashed Andy and all of that, and maybe this doesn't work for the Steelers because the goal for the Steelers is to always win a Super Bowl, right? Andy Dalton isn't the worst quarterback. You'll win games, you'll go to the playoffs and all of that. And like Tony said, that's what I talked about the Andy Dalton experience is. You're going to win games. You're just not going to be able to win a Super Bowl with that guy because you're going to have to go up against some elite quarterbacks. But I think given their situation for what the Steelers are walking into now, which is looking for a bridge quarterback and looking for a younger guy to kind of take those reins, I think Kenny Pickett actually will be solid for them. I'm not saying that he's going to win Rookie of the Year or anything, but I think that he's going to be Mac Jones light. And Mac Jones light, I think, will be enough with that defense, with what they did in order to do it. So when you have someone like an Andy Dalton, which the Bengals did, you have to give him elite weapons, which is why I feel like they went out and got George Pickens, Calvin Austin III. You already had Deontay Johnson. You already had Freiermuth and stuff like that. And you're going to have to put good coaching around them because if you have a good offensive coordinator, that is what led to Andy Dalton 2015. He had Hugh Jackson as his offensive coordinator. He had literally a slew of head coaches surrounding him as assistant coaches. He had a bunch of talent around him. And that's what Pittsburgh's going to have to do if they want to compete and have success. The issue is you can't have injuries. You can't have issues on your offensive line. You can't have any deficiencies because if you have any deficiencies with a quarterback like this, that is what keeps you from getting to a Super Bowl. That's what keeps you from doing it. But I actually like what the Steelers did after they got Pickett or whatever, right? Which in this draft, let's just be honest, Pickett probably was like the number one quarterback. I mean, we could talk about Willis. We could talk about the other guys. Everyone's saying that Willis isn't pro ready right now. It's kind of a situation where if Trey Lance wasn't pro ready, how is Malik Willis pro ready? I feel like Pickett is pro ready. So if you have him, it's either Pickett or it's Mitch Trubisky, right? So I get where they went with it there. Like, okay, because I would expect that some of those guys at least get drafted in the second, and no one took any of them. There wasn't a Corral, any of those guys. So, like, honestly, like before the draft, I did hear a lot of people saying Kenny Pickett was supposed to be the guy that was taken. Where they had to take him, I think you also had to give him some credit. Now, if they would have traded up to 10 for Kenny Pickett, I would probably laugh them out of the room. But the fact that they didn't trade any picks or anything like that, they stood at 20, which is probably the range that he was going to go anyway, and still ended up getting him. That's cool. But to follow that up with Pickens, to also get DeMarvin Leal on that defensive line for the Steelers is going to be a problem. And then you get Calvin Austin III. You get another tight end in Hayward. You get a linebacker in Robinson. The only thing that I kind of looked at the Steelers, and depending on how this goes with the new scheme and everything, I know they worked some of it a little bit last year with the zone scheme. We'll have to see. The other thing is I'm not sure how Kenny Pickett fits into the offense if it is an RPO thing. That was one thing that I kind of thought of as well. But really the only issue that I really had with their draft was the lack of linemen that they selected in the draft. I would think based off of what we saw last year with just the pure numbers from NGS with the passer rate, or I think that's actually ESPN, the pass rush win rate, they were close to last in the league last year. Now, I know that they went out and in free agency, I feel like they improved the interior of the line, but the tackles is where my kind of concern is. And I thought that they'd at least take one, given some guys that were available at the time. So I think that the Steelers actually had, given the circumstances, a good draft for them. And I think that they addressed needs. But the only need that I feel like they didn't really address was that offensive line. So for me, I think it was a solid draft for them.
I will say one last thing about the whole Steelers situation and Pickett. The one thing with the Steelers, think about how Big Ben played last year, right? Did we thought the Big Ben played good at all? Right. So can Pickett replicate 90% of how Big Ben played last year? I'm not talking his career.
Well, which 90% are we talking about? Because you don't want 90% of what Ben did. You want the 10% of what he did at the end of the games last year, right? Like, yeah, anybody could go out there and replicate what he did for 90% of them games last year, which is stink. Like, that's not hard. What he did was, like, at the end of halves, he would just score touchdowns out of nowhere. He would give you, like, 2 drives a game where he would be old Big Ben, and then he would score. The question isn't, can he do what Ben did 90% of the time? It's, can he do that 10%? Because, like it or not, that 10% made Ben a better quarterback last year than Baker Mayfield. It made him a better quarterback last year than a lot of guys in the NFL just because he was able to give you that 10, even though he was out there giving you that bad 90 most of the time, right? Like that 10% part of it, that's not easy to recreate, right? There's questions about, Mitchell Trubisky will be better on a play-for-play basis, and you might get more total yards on offense, but you might not score as many points because Ben was just better at that stuff, right? That's where the cerebralness happens there.
Well, but the thing with Ben is just Ben also sabotaged the offense too. Like I'm
sure, he turns the ball over.
He wasn't even running the right plays. He was running plays that he wanted. Like, so I heard a lot of people saying in spaces that Ben they don't even know what the Canada offense is because Ben just kind of didn't want to run it.
Well, I mean, let's also like consider the fact that Ben just might know more than Matt Canada about NFL football. He's been in the league longer than Matt Canada has, right? So Matt Canada might have run some BS, right? And Ben was like, no, that doesn't work in the NFL. I've been in the league like almost 20 years, and that's not going to work, right? We can't discount the amount of knowledge that Ben has accumulated being an elite, close to an elite quarterback over the last 20 years in the NFL, right? So again, I know it's easy to look at Ben's overall stats and go, he was trash last year. It's not going to be it's not going to be hard to replace that level of play. They're going to get better at quarterback because they have Mitchell Trubisky and they have Kenny Pickett. But I'm just saying, I think we underestimate how hard it was to give that last 10% of what Ben gave him last year, which ultimately gave this team nobody thought should be in the playoffs a playoff berth. Like, ultimately, one of the factors in it, not the whole factor. TJ Watt had a lot more to do with it, but it played a role in it. And I don't believe that Ben was out here actively making the offense worse. Like, there were some things that just didn't help you because when Ben's out there, you're going to want to throw them. Oh, wait. Hold on. I was going to say, when Ben's out there, you're going to want to throw the ball 50 times a game. That's just not going to happen with like Kenny Pickett or Mitchell Trubisky.
I don't know. No. Some of those Steelers games were rough. Like it started I think in the Bills game.
Year. They weren't a good team last year, but he was still good enough that they were able to get to the playoffs, and he definitely played a part in some of those wins because at the end of games, Ben was competent for the most part, right? And that is the difference. I mean, Baker Mayfield probably was better on a play-by-play basis than him, right? But if you look at the end of games, Baker's incompetent. Ben is not. That's the difference, right? You don't know who's going to be competent or not, and we have no idea if Kenny Pickett's going to be competent enough at the end of games to be able to do a quarter of those things, right? We don't even know if Kenny Pickett can play football in the NFL. Like, I still think that's a question of whether he's an NFL quarterback, to be honest with you. But the Steelers seem to be convinced that he is. But I question how easily we think they're just going to replace Big Ben and get like decent quarterback play out of him. Like it might happen.
I guess
or you commit 2 years to a dude who might not be better than Mason Rudolph.
True, but I guess
a little bit better than Mason Rudolph.
My overall point was more that the Steelers won despite on how Big Ben played. So I still expect them to be competitive.
I get you, and I think Ben's play has turned into a meme on this channel. But like we talk all this shit about how bad Ben was. What is his record over the last 2 years?
Well, they had a good team.
Here's the thing. They have a good team because we can't act like Duck Hodges.
None of us were out here saying that the Steelers roster was so good that they were going to win 11 games in 2020 or in 2021. Nobody thought that roster was good enough to make the playoffs. Like it's not a Baker Mayfield situation where he wins 11 games, but you're like, God damn, look at that roster, right? Like, I mean, we can talk all we want about Ben.
They do have Tomlin though. Like,
they got a good team.
We all saw Tomlin.
They're a competent organization.
Duck Hodges and those guys go 8-8, which we never thought that they would. So the fact that they did that with those guys, I just trust the infrastructure.
They went 9-7 and 11-5 when they had Ben back. Like there's a considerable jump of what they were able to do without Ben and with Ben. And without Ben, they did not make the playoffs. With Ben, they won the division and made the playoffs twice. Like he still had we could talk about how bad he was because he just clearly wasn't Ben Roethlisberger anymore after that elbow injury. But he wasn't trash, right? Like he wasn't garbage.
He had TJ Watt and those dudes. Like it's not.
Baker Mayfield had Myles Garrett. He was still trash. And the team was still trash.
Okay,
y'all
still
were better roster.
Hold on. Let's wrap it up.
The Browns or the Steelers last year. Nobody can sit here and tell me the Steelers did. So you know what I mean? Like quarterback play matters so much that you can, if you're that bad at quarterback, you're not going to make the playoffs. As bad as we're saying that Ben was, he wasn't that bad at it. I can't believe y'all got me out here defending Ben Roethlisberger's last 2 years.
Bro. That offense
was bad. But I'm saying, look, I'm just saying this because I watched the offense. I believe in my heart it truly was much worse last year than what the Steelers had, despite having less excuses to be that bad in the Cleveland Browns. And the difference was that Ben could score a touchdown if he needed to at the end of games.
Sure.
Bad offenses awful as bad as they weren't ever at that level of incompetence, and that's all I'm saying.
They got blown out a lot of times last year.
That's all I'm saying is that you think Big Ben was bad the last 2 years. I'm just saying we underestimate how much worse it can get than what you got out of the last 2 years.
I've seen
it is a considerable dip.
I have seen Ryan Finley.
Yeah. Okay, to wrap it up, I want Tony that hasn't said anything to have the last word, and then we'll move on to Super Chats and Bengals. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, look, again, like I said, for me, the quarterback thing, as much as, look, I don't like Kenny Pickett to pick because I'm worried about the Andy Dalton part of this, but I think that this was a great draft for the Steelers because, again, going back to the process part of it, they got the quarterback that they loved. As much as I don't like it, I'm going to hold my nose and pray that I'm wrong on Kenny. Everything else, like you guys talked about, look, I love the George Pickens pick. I think George Pickens is a fantastic player. It's a breakout age. For those of you who are into fantasy and know breakout age of 18, which usually means that player is going to do things at the next level. I just love his attitude. You know what I mean? In that room, and by the way, the great thing about Pickens that no one talks enough about, Pickens is an outside receiver. So you're going to have Deontay who has to play on the outside because he's so good at his release, and you don't want him making catches over the middle because we talked about his drops. Okay. And so you're going to play Pickens on the outside, which means who's going to play inside? thank goodness we get to move Chase Claypool, who, I cannot believe we have to say this, but whose best position is to play in the friggin' slot. Okay, because that is where Chase Claypool is actually going to make some money. And thank goodness that we've by drafting Pickens, not only do we get a great outside, what I think is going to be a great outside receiver, but they also get to put Chase Claypool in his rightful position as a slot receiver, and I think that opens things up offensively. DeMarvin Leal, I'm with you, Ace. I like the pick, but it is a weird one because the Steelers on the defensive line, these guys don't play right away. Go back and look at what Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward didn't start till year 4, I believe, or maybe it was year 3. But it took a couple years to get him going. Same thing with Stephon too. It didn't start until year 2. So Leal is someone who I think the Steelers want to certainly going to have to add some weight. He might even play nose, is what Terrell Austin was saying. So this may be a guy who we really don't see a ton of for maybe a year or two, as he needs to. They want to bulk up 20 or 30 pounds. That doesn't mean eating extra Pop-Tarts in the morning. That's going to be. That's going to mean adding some bulk in muscle, not necessarily fat. And then the other guy I like in this one is Calvin Austin. Look, obviously there's going to be the Dre Archer jokes right themselves on this one. But what I like about Calvin is not just fast in a straight line. He can maneuver a little bit. I don't like the comparisons when people say he's Tyreek Hill because he's so small, but he's fast. I don't like that. I like, for those of you who watch
Tyreek Hill, though, ruined it for everybody.
Yeah, I know, exactly. You get a small, fast receiver, and I was like, oh, we got Tyreek Hill. I think his comp is more, Calvin Austin's comp to me is more of Quadri Henderson in Matt Canada's offense back when he used to coach at Pitt. And the way they use him on the end arounds and getting him in space and using his shiftiness there, like they used Ray McLeod last year. Remember, Steeler fans, we would laugh hysterically about how many targets Ray McLeod would get at the end of the year. Those may be going to Calvin Austin. So, look, I think it was a really good draft, but it all comes down to, did they hit on Kenny? If Kenny's a hit, obviously this is an A+ draft. But I think outside of Kenny Pickett, I love this class, and I'm going to hold my nose and trust that Tomlin and Colbert know better than me at the quarterback spot.
Okay, we have a couple super chats here, and then we'll go to the Bengals. Q, you see the Pro Football Talk tweet about the Baker situation saying it's a test to see those who view pro football players as human beings from those who view football players as property.
Okay, so there's 2 ways you could look at this. One, I think, Pro Football Talk, they come out with like some of these takes and some of them are all right, but some of them, they just kind of like, they're so heavy on one side. Look, when it comes to the Baker situation, one, you have to acknowledge that a lot of this situation is Baker's own doing, right? Like, he put himself in this situation for the most part. Because the reason people don't want to trade for Baker Mayfield is because they think the tape is prohibitive, or even the money. The money's not that much. It's only $18 million for somebody you think could start in the NFL. It's none of that. It's because they think that Baker Mayfield is a toxicous presence in a locker room right now. Like that's what the league thinks about him, and that's his own doing. You can't blame that on Andrew Berry. But if the Browns do this thing that some people are suggesting, where they could hold him for the whole season and just let him sit at home and collect his money and all, that's just draconious, and that's just doing too much. Just cut him, right? Like, if you don't have any plans for him to play, don't hold him out so you might be able to get a 7th round pick. It's stupid at that point. Just cut him. You can't trade him now. The Giants just had to cut James Bradbury to save $10 million. Like, it's, if you can't get rid of him now, then you might as well just get rid of him, right? Like, that's where I'm at with it, because honestly, it's not even about doing right by Baker Mayfield. It's about just not presenting a bad look for a franchise that, you brought in Deshaun Watson, which to some people is going to be a bad look, right? Let's not do more of it, right? Where you're just like, oh, we're just going to hold on to Baker Mayfield and see if somebody, and pray somebody gets injured. Like, I can't respect getting down like that. That's just kind of like dirty to me and like not respectable.
Okay, the Worth, thank you for donation. I didn't see the comment, but thank you. If you post it again, one of us will look at it and bring it up. Professor Cass says, I would like to bet or poll, who will you have more fumbles this year, Daniel Jones or Kenny Pickett?
I'll take Daniel Jones right now.
Yeah,
right now. Let's DM me, Professor Cass. Let's do it right now.
What were Daniel Jones' fumble numbers in college?
I have no idea. I'm not.
Did he have a fumble issue
after what I just went through to get the numbers you guys saw on screen? I'm not looking that up. So
I'm just saying, like, did it pop up when the ball got an inch bigger? Like, it could have.
It could have.
Professor Chaos also said, who we think about next prime Hugh Jackson?
No. This goes back to the prime Andy Dalton thing. He's saying who are we going to say next? Prime Hugh Jackson?
Oh, gotcha.
Who's the?
I mean, listen. Can we not? Look, obviously, Andy Dalton gets slandered on this show, and he probably should because he did not have a great career. Well, like prime Andy Dalton.
Oh, he had a great career.
No,
It was good. Like,
it's
the
not
problem with
prime Andy Dalton. You cannot say it's 2014. Andy Dalton was pretty good.
Yeah,
In
2014, 2015,
Andy Dalton
2016, three playoff years.
Yeah,
Three playoff years in a row.
For
Yeah,
those,
but he's Derek Carr. I mean, again, it's like
good.
he's Kirk Cousins, who
No,
again, he's not a guy. He's a guy who
And
all
if
of
you
us
said prime Kirk Cousins on this show, I would quit immediately.
What's wrong with saying prime Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins had a
no
prime.
such
Kirk
thing as
Cousins.
a prime Kirk Cousins.
Kirk
There's
Cousins
no
is
such
pretty
thing as a
good.
prime Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I don't
There's
understand.
No
like,
such thing.
You have this kind of binary view of quarterbacks because of what happened to Baker Mayfield. But like, if I would have talked to you a year ago, right, there was certainly a gray area. There was certainly a gray area.
Sure. But I'm not about to do prime Baker Mayfield to talk about 2020. You know what I mean? Like
you want us to
I can't
memory
hear you,
hole.
Tom.
You want us to memory hole what happened those 10 games when you went nuts about Baker Mayfield, right? But we're not going to do
I
it.
thought he was going to be
There was
good.
a time. Yeah, okay. And so if we went back and
then
said
a
that was
year had
prime
been
Baker
of
Mayfield,
bad information.
again,
where
I
was
don't
like,
understand.
oh, never mind. He's not good.
Okay, but
Ace
like,
was
those
right.
10 games happened, right?
Because that-
Which you can't act like those 10 games didn't happen, Q. Those 10 games happened.
But I'm not
So if
about
I
to say
said
it's
that was
prime
Baker Mayfield, that was prime
I'm
Baker
saying,
Mayfield.
I'm saying you can't just put prime and say that's the best games of
Yes, that's
any
what prime
player ever
means.
played.
It's the best
Prime,
of him.
no, prime is for a player that was like really good, and then you're talking about like Big Ben can have a prime. Like
Every player
but
has
you
a
can't talk about no
I don't-
damn Joe Flacco prime.
We're
Like
going to
no,
argue about what the
there's a
definition of
different
prime
connotation.
is.
I agree with Tony here, Q. I will say every player will have a portion of his career that's just look. The prime for a player can still be
every human being has a prime. I understand the concept that you're saying.
I'm
When
just
we say it
confused
in a sports
because
concept. I'm saying like when we say it in sports, we don't usually attach prime this player's
trash
name
player.
to somebody who's mediocre or barely above average. We
that's
say
what
to the great
Q's
players.
saying. I
That's
get
what I'm saying.
that. I get that part of it.
We don't
Like,
go
it's
out here
better
and say,
to-
prime Mo Williams was great. No, we say Mo Williams was
could.
good at a certain point of time in his career, right? That's not how we talk about these things. We reserve prime for the really good players. That's all I'm saying. I
Prime
understand
Andy
that prime is
Dalton
the concept
was
that exists for
1
everybody
year.
else.
He only had one really good year, and it was 2015. I don't know where this 2014, 26. No, it was 1 year, and it was 2015, and that was when Andy Dalton, believe it or not, was an MVP candidate. He got hurt that year. There was only 1 year where he.
Is that
did
when he broke his finger? Is that when he broke his finger at the end of the year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Trying to tackle someone on the Steelers.
On
Yes.
the Steelers, it's Stephon
that's
Tuitt. It was
because-
Stephon Tuitt.
Okay, let's talk about this Bengals draft, right? Bengals and Browns probably have the least amount of players picked, I think, for different reasons. But Ace, obviously, I watched the kid Hill a little bit because the Ravens have been drafting at least a Michigan player for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And I thought Hill might have been in. I thought maybe we can get him in the second. But I would like to know for you. I know you love Hill. I know Hill was one of the players you predicted they were going to draft. But how about the other guys? Because I know the guy from Florida, Carter, and then you have the kid from Nebraska, the corner. I think those are two players that you think they can make an impact on year one. So what do you think on this draft class?
It's a mixed bag for me. Like when I first went into this draft, there were several positions that I thought that the Bengals would attack. I felt like corner was going to be one that was early and often. Safety, I always felt like was going to be a surprise pick. Tight end, I thought would be one. And I thought that they needed a fourth receiver. And so going into this, I kind of expected them to attack the secondary, get something on the defensive line. But I expected them also to go for a tight end and center. So for me, when you look at it on the surface, I had to get used to drafting this late, luckily I have a friend that's a Bucs fan who was in a similar situation where the Bucs didn't used to be that good, right? They're usually picking at the top or the middle of the draft. And then he was in the Super Bowl. So like when you're picking late, your strategy really is more so depth and guys that could potentially be up for contracts, and especially with what's going on in the receiver market and the quarterback market right now, contract-wise, you got to look at that. So for me, Dax Hill, I think makes sense just because of the versatility. You can use him in a number of ways. And then after that, we end up getting Cam Taylor-Britt. Now, at first, I was kind of thrown off. And initially I thought about 2015 because I'm like, all right, is this guy a safety too, or is he a corner? Right. And so then, I knew that Cam Taylor-Britt, I was somewhat familiar with him, but he was a very similar kind of player to Dax Hill, who you just took around before. And so after that, I'm like, all right, Zach Carter actually was my favorite pick of the draft for them. And it was a mixed bag because a lot of people didn't really look into Zach Carter. But one of the things that I did was the prime formula. And when I got the 3-tech, I was looking at everyone's like sack numbers. And I was like, man, for this 3-tech class, it's not really good. Like there's not a lot of consistent guys with sack numbers. And Zach Carter actually stuck out because he was one of the guys. I think Lil was another one that kind of stuck out with year-to-year sacks. And so I actually liked that Carter pick because I went and looked at some film real quick on him. And I was like, they could use him at 3-tech. They can use him on the edge. He's a real versatile player. And then they kind of lost me with the 4th-round pick. Cordell Volson, a guy that I never heard of, that I had to go all the way back to my raw data to find, which was a left guard. I think that they're calling him out of North Dakota State. My issue was that Kennard was still on the board. Kennard was like one of the top linemen there. He played in the SEC, more established. He wasn't going against guys that are 200 pounds in a conference that I don't really take seriously. But hey, if that's what they want to do at that point, then I'm just going to trust the Bengals. So the Cordell Volson one kind of threw me off, not going to lie there. And then right after that, we take another safety. And I'm like, all right, so we got 3 guys that could potentially play safety. What is going on? Because it's like, obviously, we have Jesse Bates, we have Von Bell. But with the Tyson Anderson pick, the value that they got for him, and the other thing was they traded up for this guy. And so that kind of threw me off. But he is actually like a 2nd or 3rd round kind of graded prospect. And I think that he's going to be a guy that obviously is probably going to be a backup to start. But if one of these guys go, then he's there. And then you got Jeff Gunter. So for me, I just felt like at certain points that they should have taken a tight end for sure, because I love Hayden Hurst, but you don't really have anyone after him. If Hayden Hurst gets hurt, you're back to Drew Sample. So I was thinking that at least, especially for the future, that they would have possibly thought about taking a tight end at some point in this draft. Then you talk about wide receiver 4, right? Like we lost Auden Tate. They obviously have the Migos, right? But I learned a couple of years ago, like you have to have depth at receiver because any of those guys can go down. T. Higgins has not, in my recollection, ever finished a season with playing every single game. And so for me, it kind of was scary, the fact that they didn't take any receivers at all in this draft, with it being a draft that was loaded at receiver where you could have got some depth later on. And I'm not talking about day 1 or day 2, but I feel like day 3, you could have got someone. And so for me, those were the issues that I kind of had with the Bengals draft. But when you take a step back and look at it, when you look at what Lou's doing on defense with the versatility of the scheme, I'm not sure why my cam just went out. I think the batteries just died. But when you look at the scheme that he has, these are a lot of guys that were versatile. And the thing that I like about it is when you look at that playoff run with what the Bengals did against Pat Mahomes and against some of these quarterbacks, they dropped a lot of guys. They used a lot of secondary members out there. They weren't doing any kind of like crazy looks, blitzes, or any of that. They just dropped guys in the coverage, right? And they kind of are, I want to say, kind of looking ahead of where this NFL teams are going, right? They did it last year with the Migos, with the wide receivers. Now you see everyone scrambling for wide receivers and quarterbacks. How do you combat that? You get more corners and you get more guys that can actually cover and do all kind of mix-ups. Do you know if Dax Hill is blitzing? Do you know if he's dropping in coverage? Like, they have a lot of guys that they can do that with, and that's what's going to give them that versatility that they kind of leaned on last year in that playoff run. So I actually think that they're ahead of the curve on this, because I think that you're going to start seeing, with the NFL being a passing league, with all of these quarterbacks in the AFC, all of these weapons. You talk about Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle together down in Miami. You're going to need fast guys in the secondary that can play multiple positions, that can do multiple different things. Because one of the things that I feel like in the Super Bowl, and Tony has talked about this as well, is Mike Hilton sometimes can be a guy that teams try to pick on in the in the passing game, right? And they did it last year in the Super Bowl with that Odell Beckham thing, right? They made sure that he got on OBJ. They put OBJ in the slot on purpose. And I don't think Mike Hilton could have played it better, honestly. I'm just being real. But at the end of the day, you know, he is 5'8", so Odell Beckham Jr. was able to jump over him, catch it for a touchdown. You can't do that now with someone like a Dax Hill or something like that because he's bigger and stuff like that. So I think what they'll try to do is just try to throw a whole bunch of versatile defensive looks out there. So from that standpoint, I like it. But again, the no tight end, the no wide receiver, you didn't end up getting a punter or anything like that. That is the only reason why I couldn't give this like a slam dunk grade. So for me, it was probably, I probably had to give it like a B- for me with what the Bengals went out and did.
Okay. Tony, any thoughts on the Bengals draft?
Yeah, well, I did watch a lot of Dax Hill because I thought if the Steelers didn't go quarterback, I thought safety would have been an option there. And so Lewis Sign and Dax Hill were the two safeties who I thought maybe could go to the Steelers at 20. But like I said, Dax Hill is a really interesting prospect because he kind of is in this line of these players that are coming into the league where you say, man, they're so versatile, they could play anywhere. You could line them up in X, Y, and Z spots. Right? We had this with Isaiah Simmons 2 years ago. Last year, of course, it was JOK. And mixed results with either, right? Because with Isaiah Simmons, the question was, okay, he can do all these things, but like, okay, where are you going to start him, right? Because I mean, like, you're not going to have a rookie come in and be a chess piece and play everywhere because you got to figure out the spot. I think the Browns did a better job last year with JOK and integrating him. And so with Dax, yeah, I'm interested, hearing Ace there talk about kind of where he thinks Dax is going to fill in right away. Obviously, you're not, if they want him to play right away, well, he's not going to play free safety because, Jesse Bates is going to be there. I don't think he really fits as a strong. I think nickel is, to me, when I looked at him for the Steelers, I thought nickel right away. I thought nickel, you could put him in and let him play nickel. He's got the size, got the speed, got the agility that you want. You see it on tape at Michigan. And so here's the problem I have with that, right? Because like I'll say all these things about Mike Hilton where it's like, yeah, you can pick on him a little bit, but like Mike Hilton's a great football player. And I think that, the Bengals had so many times last year where Mike Hilton was I think Mike Hilton had a huge play in that playoff run, right? Didn't he
in
make
the Titans game? He picked off Tannehill. Mike Hilton was a dog, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
And so that's my issue with Dax Hill is like, yes, I get that like from a size perspective, Mike Hilton has these deficiencies, but like taking him off, if you're taking Mike Hilton off the field to put Dax Hill on the field, yes, you are going to get, in Dax Hill a more a better matchup in those moments like against OBJ, but all the intangibles that Mike Hilton brings to the table, right? And there's an opportunity cost of taking that guy off the field. So it'll be interesting to see how they integrate Dax into this defense. It is very much like a best player available type situation though. And the same thing with Cam Taylor-Britt. I'll throw something out, Ace. I wouldn't be shocked. Now, I don't have any insight into how they're going to use Cam Taylor-Britt. I could be completely wrong on this. Maybe they just keep him at corner and I'm an idiot. But like I could see a world, even a year from now, where Bates and Bell both walk, and Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt are your two safeties a year from now. Am I completely off in that? Because I think Cam Taylor-Britt actually could probably play some strong, couldn't he?
He can play safety, yeah. There were places that listed him primarily as a safety, so yeah, it's definitely something that he could do for sure.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to watch, because I thought those two picks right there was like, well, they didn't really get. I don't think the Bengals got a guy who you're like, this is for sure the Eli Apple replacement. Cam Taylor-Britt could be that guy, but he also could be a safety at the next level. And then they're still a year from now going to be looking for someone potentially to replace Eli Apple with. So I thought those first two picks were nice. The rest of the class, look, I'll be honest, I didn't watch a lot of Zachary Taylor. I hear that he's a tweener. So maybe they're gonna have to work on that as far as like figuring out, once again, with a rookie, you're not gonna be a tweener as a rookie. You got to do something as a rookie. The rest of the class I'm not familiar with, but I thought those first two picks were interesting.
Q.
Yeah, the only issue I had with the Bengals draft this year was Zach Carter, where they picked him at. I thought there were some better defensive line prospects out there than him. Wasn't really impressed with him in the Senior Bowl. They say he was like, what? Are they trying to sell me him as an edge? Like he could potentially play edge?
Yeah,
from what I'm hearing from because we just talked to Mike Potts today with an interview that's coming out, but he said that they believe the plan is to initially play him at edge, and then he's going to have to put on some weight because he's only 282 to get to that 3 tech. But he claimed that at Florida he's played at 290, and then they had him lose weight to play more on the edge.
Interesting.
Okay, yeah, I know he had like a nice first. He has like a decent first step, but he's not necessarily like twitchy. I don't know. I just didn't see a lot that I liked out of him, especially from his tape in his Senior Bowl performance. It just wasn't anything impressive. And then there were other players on the board that I'm thankful that the Bengals didn't take, but they could have.
Was there one in particular that you're thinking about here that you really like?
Who would you think I have in mind, Tony?
Was there maybe one D lineman that you were just praying all year, like please?
All I know is when the Bengals turned in that card and I knew it was a defensive lineman, I was like, oh no, butt cheeks got tight. And then they said, Zachary Carter. Oh, what? So honestly, after that pick, I thought Perrion had murdered somebody because that's the only
so
way that
technically,
makes sense to me.
Technically, Q, you really loved it. Like Zachary Carter was actually your favorite Bengals player.
If I'm looking at this from a biased perspective, of course I love that pick. I just don't love it from like a Bengals perspective here. Because that was the one where I was like, damn, Perrion like get in trouble? Like, is there a real issue here? Because that didn't make any sense.
You gotta look at the sack numbers, dog. If you look at the sack numbers, it makes sense.
I question. I would not go by sack numbers when you're going by defensive line, but that's just a different philosophy. You know what I mean? Like, I think sometimes that could be coincidental, but hey, they like Zach Carter. Cool. Good for the Bengals. Other than that, the draft was fine. Dax Hill, some people thought that was the number one safety over Kyle Hamilton this year. You know what I mean? There was a real debate you can have over that. There's also the Michigan factor, and when a dude comes from Michigan, you're like, man, he's probably going to play better than NFL because he's going to have competent coaching. And Cam Taylor-Britt, I felt like was a good pick. Like, I don't know who y'all got in the 7th round. I don't know who y'all got in the 5th round.
Jeff Gunner is a kid from Coastal Carolina. He played.
And I think you got one of the North Dakota State offensive linemen there in the 4th, right? So, hey, get some depth. Who knows? Maybe it turns into something, maybe it doesn't. But that's a 3-year project there. Yeah, only the Zach Carter pick was a little bit head scratching to me because there were a lot of forget just getting a D lineman. There's just a lot of good players there that I would have taken over Zach Carter at that point. But hey, maybe they like him, maybe they see something in him. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But yeah, other than that, I think the Bengals had a solid draft. They got some players who are going to contribute, right? In Cam Taylor-Britt and Dax Hill, I think right away. I think Dax Hill especially. Which is going to be interesting, right? Because you look at the Bengals defense, and there are a lot of solid players, but you're waiting for that one star to emerge. Maybe Dax Hill is that one star that can emerge, right? I know some people think Jesse Bates is the one star, but maybe it becomes Dax Hill, or maybe it becomes them both as a tandem.
Okay, the one thing I will say with Zach Carter per se is he sounds / looks to me more of a 4-3 DN, and can't remember what the Bengals run right now, but we drafted a guy like
they run 4-3, right? They run base 4-3.
We run 3-4. We run 5-2. We run nickel. Like that's what we run the most is nickel package.
4-3. Well, 4-2-5. So it's 4 down linemen though most of the time there, right? Y'all don't usually run a 0 out there, right?
No.
I don't know who y'all would even have to play. What BJ Hill would be the 0 if y'all needed one.
No. Reader.
DJ Reader. That's a waste of DJ Reader to have him at the 0 though.
But if you in a pinch,
I mean,
if they're playing 5-2, he's probably playing.
Just get some fat dude.
5-2,
Just get a fat guy. If you go run 0,
DJ Reader's pretty fat. I mean,
he's good in fat. Just get somebody who's fat. Bring back Andrew Billings and be like, just do this. That's all he need to do. If you gonna run what a 0 tech out there 3 snaps a game, that don't need to be DJ Reader.
I guess what I was gonna say is we drafted a guy similar to what Carter is in the 3rd round a couple of years ago, Ferguson, big sack number guy. He hasn't paid off for the Ravens. I thought when we drafted him, he was not a fit for us defensively. He probably would have been better somewhere else. Zach Carter, I mean, to be honest, and this is for all fan base, when you get a guy in the 3rd round, I hear these fan bases like, oh my God, we got this dude. There's a reason why this guy is slipped to the 3rd round. He probably was not going to get an impact. I mean, if it is great, but impact player year 1, nah. My philosophy more is in the 3rd rounders. What I want is in year 3 to be like if it was good, that's when they start, right? Year 2, you contribute. Year 3, you start.
All I will say real quick on Zach Carter, go watch this film against Evan Neal, then come back and holler at me.
No, well,
if they're going to move him inside.
They're going to move him inside.
If they're going to move him inside, right?
They're going to move him inside is what the plan is. But he might place. He really reminds me of like Wallace Gilberry. I don't know if you guys remember Wallace Gilberry for us. he kind of would rotate from the outside of edge and kind of play D tackle as well. Eventually, the plan is for him to play 3 tech. So we usually have a 3 tech and a 5 tech. I think BJ Hill, who played 5 tech last year, is going to replace Ogunjobi to play 3 tech. And then they're going to use this guy on the outside, possibly at the 5 tech. I don't know exactly what their plan is. They claim edge early, and then they're saying that once he adds weight, it'll be 3 tech for sure.
Yeah, and I guess my point here, Ace, is not that he's not going to be good. It's more for the fan base, yours, mine, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Those third-round picks, when you put that, they might be great. It might be great later on.
Right.
Year one, it's hard for all rookies, it's hard.
But for our rookies in general, I feel like you always have to give them 3 years. Like, just because you were picked early doesn't really mean like you're just going to immediately come in, because these guys have to learn NFL playbooks. They got to get used to playing in a whole new offense or defense. Like, a lot of that stuff is kind of crazy that people put all of that on them just to expect to know. Like, even with Linderbaum, right? Because I had to make this argument with Bengals fans because they were like, oh, it's just going to be easy for him. I'm like, center is like the hardest spot on the offensive line. You have to know what all 5 guys are supposed to be doing in a completely brand new offense with all of those plays. I only played football on a high school level. It was hard as shit to learn that playbook. I couldn't imagine an NFL offense and having to learn all of that and know what 5 of the guys are doing. So I always feel like you got to give them at least like 2 to 3 years to actually know what these guys are going to end up being.
Okay, Hawks here says, also couldn't trust Trey Henderson's sack numbers. You see, this is why our position rankings are so much fun, because you get hot takes like that, and then you guys reminded us.
Oh wait, if I'm not taking rookie rankings or rookies into account, then Joseph Osai technically still a rookie. Just an FYI.
Okay,
he did get hurt in the preseason, so he didn't play any. Yeah, he is.
With that, I will say this, guy. Remember, we're gonna have super things now available. So if you're watching the replay and you want to leave us some comments, it's like a super chat, but it's after the video is recorded. Thank you all for watching us. We're coming back next week. We're gonna be talking about schedule. The schedule is gonna be released. It just should be a fun.
How many times are the Steelers gonna play the Ravens this year? Wait till the schedule finds out. Wait till the schedule to find out.
Wait, how many times are the Steelers how many times are the Ravens going to lose in a division this year is the real question. Will it be more than 1 game? You know what I mean? Like,
we took an off year.
We can find out. We can find out that by week 3, the Ravens could have doubled their division win total potentially. You know what I mean? From last year, if they just win 2 games.
By the way, they've already announced the Monday night games, and the Thursday game is going to have the Rams in it, so it won't include any of our teams, which means the only opportunity for any of our teams to play on primetime is Sunday night. So maybe an AFC Northwest primetime week.
Wait, the Bengals have Monday night football games?
The Monday night games got announced. Monday night games got announced. No, I'm saying opening day. Opening day.
Just open day.
Oh, you're talking about opening day. I was like, the Bengals have no Monday night football games all season.
Sorry, should have prefaced that. Opening day. The Monday night games on opening day are Titans, Bills, and Eagles, Vikings.
There's supposedly, which I don't buy this whole the NFL schedule is ever changing. It updates every day, which is what the guy from NFL operations is trying to sell people on. But he claims that the Bengals will be playing on prime time a lot this year. So
they made the Super Bowl last year. They can't play every game at 1 o'clock. That's ridiculous.
That's true.
What do you think a lot means? 3, 4?
He was sounding like it could have been like 5 or 6. 5 is the max. 5 is the max, but then they say you can go over the max if you get flexed. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the flex. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna get 5. They got to get 5, right? They got Joe Burrow. So. They have a legitimate star.
Well, they're guaranteed a Thursday game.
And Jamar Chase.
You know that Josh Allen and Joe Burrow is going there. You know that Joe Burrow, Tom Brady is going there. I don't think we play the Rams.
No, we play the South this year. We don't play the West.
No, remember, we play one random team. Oh, it's from the East.
This is gonna be like a game in there that you're like, why is this a Monday a national TV game like the Bengals versus the Falcons or something weird like that? Like they always don't put a good game. on
wait, the Bengals. You know who
it should be? It should be the Bengals and the Browns, but I don't know. Like with the Watson situation, I think that's why they would be scared to make that one. But it really should. The Bengals versus the Browns.
By the way,
1-2.
The Bengals
games all for the Browns at Sunday at 1 o'clock. You could just assume that suspension is not coming this year if they are just trying to put the Browns on 1 o'clock every week, except for like one Thursday, because they got to give every team one national TV game.
No, I would say the opposite. If they're doing it all 1 o'clock, it's because he's getting suspended for a long time.
No. They can't have him out there. Because you imagine if you got to make an argument that Deshaun Watson should be comeback player of the year? Like that's not a world that nobody wants to like be out here morally trying to make that argument. Like, this is what I'm saying. They will not have that man on national TV if he's playing this year. Like, they'll wait till next year to dodge that, to get to that bullet. So them games at 1 o'clock.
Oh, I don't know. They like money more than they have more than morality. So
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but how much more money you gonna make by putting the Browns on national TV than if like you put the
That's
Cowboys on for
if
the
they're
40th
good.
time? If the Browns are good, then everybody gonna tune in who like the Browns at 1. You know what I mean? You can make them the national 1 o'clock game. But what you're not about to do is have Joe Buck out here having a quote about the Deshaun Watson situation because it's a blowout and he got to say something. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you want to avoid.
Hold on, this guy is
Elite here says Dax Hill will be the dynamo. Out of the nickel blitzing with the 4.3 speed, I'm predicting between 7 or 8 sacks this year.
What?
And top
7 or
5
8 sacks
defensive rookie out the year. Can
Michael Parsons
from a no, but it could be talking about from a slot corner. Now, Mike Hilton, who is a great with a capital G, great blitzer. The max he ever had in his career was 4. I believe in his entire career he has 9.5. So if Dax Hill gets 8 sacks from the slot corner position,
we can
forget defensive rookie of the year, baby. Reach for the stars. Defensive player.
If Dax Hill gets 8 sacks from the slot corner position, he is the greatest linebacker of all time. Like, how many sacks did Ray Lewis get a year? You know what I mean? Like, I don't even think it was at 9, right? He wasn't double digits. He was like at 5. Or man.
Around 6, 5 or 6.
Yeah, Dax Hill would be
Most
2 times greater than Ray Lewis.
Yeah. Dax Hill. Look, Dax Hill could be a great blitzer and get a bunch of pressures and like 2-3 sacks. It'd be great. Be great as a.
What you should replace that number with is TFLs, right? Yeah, because that's more feasible. He can get some tackles behind the line of scrimmage or something like that. Yeah, because you can do that at the safety position. So I would say, TFLs. That would be a better way to go about it, so people don't react so strongly to what you're saying. That does kind of make sense. It's just sacks. That's a little crazy for that position.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, we'll see you next time. Again, talking about schedule next week. We'll see you until then. Peace out.